pop stars. Welcome to another episode of the Wind Down ReWine. Thank you for joining us. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
How you been, Timmy? These past couple
Doing
weeks?
good. Doing good, trying to survive in this world that we live in. Every day is a new day.
Girl, isn't it? Every day is a new day.
Mhm.
I want to start this week with a joke.
Go ahead.
So, Cheeto 47 took his historic trip to Britain, right? And so someone said he spent the whole time trying to figure out where he knew Prince Andrew from.
That's cute. That's cute. Cute.
Y So, you know, and gosh, how do we start? So, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Charlie
Yeah,
Kirk, um, was murdered. I refuse to use the word assassination.
because he wasn't a political figure.
Yeah, exactly. But he was murdered, and I will say that it was horrific. I'm not a Kirk fan. I'm not gonna defend him. I'm not even gonna say that, um I liked him or anything about him. But I will say that I'm not of the mindset that I have the right to say who has the right to live and who has the right to die. He had the right to spew all his hatred under the First Amendment, which we're going to get into, obviously. But like my mom always says, I don't have a heaven or a hell to put anyone in. So I'm not one of those who is necessarily celebrating his death. So I think both things can be true. Now, does that mean that I'm just overly sad and mourning his death? No, not at all. But, I'm not of the mindset that he deserved it. He had young children who are gonna have to watch that, all of that kinda stuff. So that is pretty much where it it ends for me. What about you?
See how I can put my thoughts into words. Um, I I agree on I don't think necessarily just because of what he spewed and what came out of his mouth and the rhetoric that he promoted um that he deserved to die the way that he did. And I will also say that I don't care either way, if that makes sense. Like I guess I would be one of those people that, the sensitive ones are talking about. I have no feelings either way. If he was still alive, he would have been going on about his life. I'd have been going on about my life. And every once in a while I'd have heard something, something else that he said that was, sexist or racist or,
Both.
misogynistic or homophobic or, all of that. And, made a comment and then kept moving on with my life, right? I don't think he was a significant figure for me on in either way. So while, I didn't watch the video or anything like that because I don't do well with those kinds of videos. I didn't care. Like I really didn't care. I will say that I hate how for certain people they will like put more emphasis on their life than that person deserves. On how they want you to view that person. It's kind of like there was a pastor, I don't know if you've seen it, and he said just because you died, it doesn't erase the way that you lived.
Yeah, his
Um
I love that. I know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking about, the pastor in DC who said his death doesn't and the way he died doesn't redeem his life.
Yeah, it doesn't, and so that's ultimately that's a really great summary of the mindset that I have is, while it's very horrific, that he died, I doesn't take away all the rhetoric and the hate, that he promoted, when he was alive just because, he died in such a horrific way. So I can be sad about how he died and also not be sad at his death, if I guess if that makes sense. So that's really where I stand on it. I will say that while it was more insignificant for me, what hurts me more is the reactions of certain people on his death. Definitely like threw me back a couple steps on certain people that I was very shocked about, very surprised when they like commented or posted or voted on certain things, and I was just like, "Wow, like, never would have thought we were there, but we're there." So, yeah.
A friend of mine said, "Just my lack of joy doesn't mean lack of sympathy." And,
Yeah.
I always say someone is somebody you're always someone or somebody to
Mhm.
someone. And I just said that I hope he was a better father than he was a human being.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I don't appreciate the double flips, the gaslighting, and the whitewashing that is doing to try to make
Mhm.
him a fucking martyr because he was
Yeah.
nothing of the sort. JD Vance getting up in the White House and holding a podcast for him, trying to erase the fact that he spoke down of Black women, saying that we don't have the brain power to process anything, and that all the positions we've ever had in life was due to DEI and affirmative action, which we've talked about several times. We are not the ones who benefited from that the most.
Oh,
Um,
we at least benefit from those programs.
you know, but the receipts are there. And it was funny because as soon as someone posted that underneath the clip of Vance saying that, they had the clip of Kirk saying exactly what he said. So on one hand, Vance is trying to say he never said that, he never said that, but then there's the clip of Kirk actually saying that. And so this whole idea that he's this martyr and people trying to turn him into the next coming of Jesus, and that horrible did you see the picture, the meme of him, Jesus, Mark? I'm like, if y'all don't fucking stop. Like and then you want to tell me that this is the man of Christian values and liberalism and not liberalism, but, and I will leave liberalism and I'll get there because all this ties into the whole First Amendment, right? He died. He was the protector of free speech. He died for free speech. He had the right to, he did have the right to spew that hatred and that garbage and all of that. So I just, there's so many layers and levels to unpack with his death. The flying of the flags at half mast, our governor here, the performative, how do I say this? The performative mourning, um, has been really unimaginable. Is
Yeah.
it unimaginable? Is it heartbreaking? Is it just when you think you've hit rock bottom and you can't hit any more?
I think it's both. I think that we have had you think so someone that came up in the conversation was Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh had a very huge following. He spewed a lot of racist rhetoric on his radio show. And when he died, none of this was happening. None of this was going on, And I will say, when you brought up, Christian values and him being a Christian. I was having a conversation and someone was like, no, he's not a Christian. That's not what Christianity is, right? He's not a Christian. And I said, we cannot define what someone's Christianity is. And the reason why is because when you really look at it, if someone tells you that they're a Christian, based on the teachings, you cannot say you're not a Christian. Now, they may not be your type of Christian, but they are still a Christian because that is how they identify themselves as. Now, the type of Christianity that they follow may be different than what you follow, and the teachings of Christ may be different than what you follow. That don't make no sense because there's only one type of teachings of Christ. But anyway, but you can't take away from how he identified himself. So if he stated that he was a Christian man, he was a Christian man. Can't take that away from him. Now, did he follow the teachings of Christ like we believe? No, but it doesn't take away from how he identified himself. That's one thing that Christianity works on, getting as many believers as possible. And then we debate on the beliefs that they have ultimately. But I believe he was a Christian man. I believe he was what he said he was. Did he go to church on a regular? I have no idea. I wasn't in that man's life. But we can't take away his Christianity from him just because we disagree with the type of Christianity that he promoted and pushed out there.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that conversation we had last episode about the white national Christian. I think that's probably more where I would group him in that ever growing niche. Because as a Christian myself, I can say we don't practice the same.
No, he practices that 1800, that 17 and 1800 Christianity.
So yeah, like I was saying, the whole martyrdom thing, and there's so many levels to layers to unpack to this. So let's just start from the beginning. I think his death, to those of us living in Earth One or remembers what it was like to live in Earth One when we had a functioning government, it exposed the FBI in ineptitude. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like Patel is fucking Inspector Gadget who just stumbled onto some shit. Like, dude, first of all, y'all didn't fucking catch him. His family turned him in, and he in it, and then from that he turned himself in. So you didn't catch him because you had no fucking idea where he was. Because every hour for 2 hours for what? It took them 2 to 3 days to get the dude. So every couple of hours for those 72 hours, let's just say, we got him. No, it's not him. We got him. No, we don't. We got someone who looks like him. And my favorite was that it was a black dude. First of all, Timmy just told y'all, we don't care enough about Charlie Kirk. We didn't care enough about that man one way or the fucking other. Second of all, we would have stuck out in fucking Utah, one of the whitest states in the country,
Mhm.
at that particular rally like a fucking sore thumb.
Thumb.
Okay?
Correct.
There was no way or any way, shape, or form that one of us could have hid in Utah for 72 hours after that happened
And
without
nobody
getting caught.
noticed.
Unless we had a
Y'all wouldn't
plane
notice.
or a helicopter ready to go as soon as it
Mhm.
happened. Okay? So we don't do that. I told someone, I said, now if it was a drive-by, maybe, but just to sit there and try to you know, like we didn't care about the dude one way or the other enough to even like,
And
so
let's be honest, as Black people, we got more pressing issues than Charlie Kirk. We have
yeah,
way more
more
pressing
pressing
issues
issues.
than Charlie Kirk. So ain't nobody worried or nobody was worried or concerned within the community about no Charlie Kirk. We were just like, you here. Go ahead.
Like Jasmine said, this is a y'all problem. This ain't a we problem. Like we ain't
Mhm.
have shit to do with this.
At
That
all.
this is, this is the crime y'all don't want to admit is the true crime in this country, white on white crime. You always want to put it on minorities or black on black crime. Our shit is
Mhm.
usually personal, like for real.
Like we're very ooh, we're very direct on what we gonna do, right? Like we not going into an area and just start like that's not what we doing.
We do
We are gonna be
control.
like, where's she at? Okay, what time she gonna be there? Okay, okay, make sure she's standing at this spot at this time so I can get her. Like we're gonna be very strategic in what we're doing. Like, and so
We
we
ain't
just
trying to catch no extra bodies, man. We
at
ain't.
all. And another thing, we ain't doing it in Utah.
Thank you. So to me, that didn't make any sense. And, how do I want to put this? We can just go to this next place because I don't even
Mhm.
want to spend a whole lot of
Yeah, let's not.
time. Um, the I think what you were saying about some of the people who voted the way they did. So now there's a national day of remembrance for him. A lot of Democrats jumped on this bandwagon, and I was trying to read their justification, and they still haven't learned shit.
I don't care what their justification is. Like,
And
y'all, you show me who you are.
yeah. And so it's like both, like we said at the beginning, both things can be true. You can be totally saddened by the way he died. You can think it's horrific tragedy. No one deserves that. They don't. But you can also say, again, his death does not redeem his life. It doesn't change who he was. He doesn't deserve all of this. He wasn't a political figure. He was just some MAGA influencer podcaster who was their golden boy or whatever. So why are you trying to force this on the rest of us? And for our party to not take a stand against that, like where were they 6 weeks ago or 12 weeks ago when an actual politician was gunned down at her house with her husband, her and then her colleague in Minnesota, Melissa Hortman. They act like they didn't know who that was. That wasn't an act of political violence. The way they're jumping through hoops to try to make this associated his killer trans or liberal, and I'm just like, and all of a sudden he has and they're lying because the first thing they were like, oh, the bullets had trans ideology on them or all this kind of stuff, and he was this liberal, and it turns out he's a MAGA from the reddest, his family is MAGA and all this shit. Then all of a sudden there's this romantic partner who is anonymous, and I'm like, but is trained, and I'm just like, okay, we know y'all can't keep a secret, and if y'all actually found this person to fit your ideology, their name and face, like, when do y'all care about protecting anyone's identity, especially if they're not one of you? You act like this is the Epstein list or something. So I'm just like, fuck it. But yeah, so that pissed me off, and I'm like,
It
oh,
just says Democrats are not going to save us. That's what it showed. And that's the reason why I think like, take, moving on from his death and everything, truly heartbreaking to not necessarily for certain people be surprised. Others I was, but certain people I was not surprised. People from New York, people from Jersey was not that surprised. But Um, to know that we are struggling in this country, as a society. People individually may be not feeling it yet, but as a country, we're struggling. And even if it's not showing on the news, the Democrats would know more than individual people on how much we're struggling in this country. And to know that and fall in line lets me know that you have sold us out as a country. You sold America out. And that's what like has thrown me for a loop is that while yeah, I didn't agree with everything that they would do, I didn't think as a collective that Republicans had the power to force Democrats to sell us out as a country. And with this vote, it lets us know like they're not saving us. And it's not enough of them on the other side to have the political power that is needed to save us. Like we have some that, stood their ground, but it's not enough of them. And the ones who stood their ground do not have the political power that is needed to shift this country back in a progressive direction. And that's what it is. It's like we on our own. And if we're on our own, that makes it 10 times harder to save the country that me as an individual has loved my whole entire life, loved enough to like be able to criticize because I know what we can be as a nation. To know that, yeah, just bringing the whole mood down. It's really disheartening to look around and being like all these decisions and these laws that are being passed and these policies and these executive orders that are being signed and these speeches that are being given that this is our life. Like it's not getting better. Like it's not going to get better. Like we're not even just there. We're not at the line. We're in the middle of fascism and we're in the middle of a dictatorship. And just because people don't want to acknowledge it and they don't want to talk about it doesn't mean it's not happening. And so Democrats showed me that they see that and they have chosen to be okay with fascism, that
Yeah,
they're okay with it.
because the thing that, like I said, just the thing that got me was that they were doing it because those who voted is because they did not want to come out on the wrong side of the message. And I'm like, by supporting it, you're supporting their message that he was okay because that's what the National Day of Remembrance is. They want to take MLK away, but MLK Day away, but you want me to support a fucking misogynistic, lying, racist POS who hated the very ground that I walked on, who said with his own voice that the civil rights movement was one of the, or civil rights legislation or act or laws were one of the biggest mistakes this country has ever made.
Who wants to go back to Jim Crow time era?
So I'm not celebrating that. I'm not supporting that. Again, his death does not redeem his life. You can't whitewash it and change who he was. He was in the middle of giving one of his hate rant speeches or whatever when he died, so I think it's so disheartening. And the other thing is, like you said, the things that are being passed. And one of the things that was like he died a free speech warrior. Okay, if he died a free speech warrior, how would he feel about you guys vilifying Kimmel? And what Kimmel said wasn't even bad. He just said that, hey, y'all don't want to admit that the dude who offed him was one of you.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty much all he said. He didn't make a joke about Kirk's death. Even if he would have made a joke about Kirk's death, under the First Amendment, he would have the right to do so.
Yeah.
And
Because
so
y'all
I'm
been
like,
making jokes about our people for decades.
yeah, and so I'm just like, okay. So I want to ask everyone who capitulated to Trump, all these corporations who thought their businesses would be so much better off under Trump. How's that working out for you? ABC, after they indefinitely suspended Kimmel, $7 billion in one day. That's just from the the TV side. Let's not now talk about how they're worried that people like me, Disney adults, are canceling their vacations to their theme parks, are not watching their other networks, Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN. And all of this was say that the reason Disney capitulated is because ESPN is in the process. They have a deal in the works to buy the NFL network. That's what they want. In order for that deal to go through, they would need FCC approval. So you figure by bowing down to Carr, who's the head of the FCC, who, if you go back and check his receipts, he's always been on free speech. He's always been for it until now. So also, if you go back to when it was announced that Colbert is canceled, the first thing Cheeto 47 tweeted is who was next. So again, ABC, Bob Iger, not, yeah, it's Iger who's in charge. I'm going to ask you, how is this working out for you? What have you done? Because to me, when this case goes to the Supreme Court, and it's going to the Supreme Court, because everyone else who was fired last week from their various jobs for not expressing condolences or concern or heartache or whatever over Charlie Kirk, y'all violated their fucking First Amendment.
That's a lawsuit.
Kimmel was seen yesterday at his lawyer's office. So when this case, because like I told someone, they were able to tiptoe around the 14th Amendment, and the Supreme Court barely tiptoed around that when they chopped and screwed that up for birthright citizenship, right? They were barely able to walk that. There's nothing ambiguous, about the fucking First Amendment. Nothing. Even if he did say something hateful, hate speech is protected as long as it's not followed by threats or an actual crime.
That's why we still have the KKK, because they have a
So
First Amendment right.
I want to see how the Roberts Court is going to get around this, because if they vote this down, if they uphold all of this bullshit, you can't deny that we are living in a full-fledged authoritarian dictatorship. As inept as it fucking is, it is.
Do you think that, because I have my own opinion, what do you think their decision would be, just off the topic, just kind of knowing like how things have been going?
This fucking court, it wouldn't surprise me if they found a way to try to, again, walk that line and appease him at the same time. So I don't know that they would strike down the First Amendment completely, but they would probably find a way to limit it, to enact limits on it. Because I think what Roberts is trying to do is, we can say this is probably one of the most illegitimate courts out there. We've had some bad courts with some bad decisions. Plessy versus Ferguson, anyone, that one still comes up. But I think he's still trying to hold an air of legitimacy for those who don't follow as closely, for those who think that it's still something to behold. When you have some of your mediocre white men, Gorsuch and Keg Stan Brett, threatening lower courts not to override them or not to talk shit about them and how they're making bad decisions, then you have a problem, you know? Like, we're the Supreme Court, hear us roar, you know? So it's just, I don't know. I'm sick of the mediocrity. I'm sick of people just dismantling. I'm sick of it all. Like, it's heartbreaking. Like you said, this country that I love, to see it heading in the direction that it's heading in, and knowing that the media has capitulated so much. I read something the other day. If Watergate would happen today, what would happen? Would the media just sit there and give in? Would they just let it happen? What happened to the free fucking press? What happened to
Republicans would have never voted Nixon out, because that's ultimately how impeachment went through. That's ultimately how they worked on getting him removed before he resigned, was Republicans. His own party is
Mhm.
what voted against him. That would not happen today. If it
Not
was
the
Nixon, that would not happen today.
Definitely not.
Not with these Republicans.
So,
Yeah.
Karen Attiah, I don't know if I'm saying her name right. She lost her job at the Washington Post. She says it's not directly involved, and she's a Black woman. She's a Black journalist at the Post. She said that it's not directly related to her statements about Charlie Kirk, but she's going to be in future days posting the letter, and she said it's actually worse than that. And since Bezos, like, initially when Bezos bought the Washington Post, you thought it was good because he kind of left them alone, and let them
Right.
do their job. And then last year with the election interference, not letting them do their editorial, not letting them support or endorse. Same thing with the Los Angeles Times. So it's like you basically have state controlled media if you have all these oligarchs owning the same people owning all these different companies and they all capitulate to fucking Trump. Um, I asked you when we talked the last time, I was like, well, why the hell is Tim Cook in the White House just sitting there like a fucking yes man? Well, since then, Apple has had its September conference and the geek that I am, I always watch it. So they need FDA approval for a part of their watch to update the health part where it helps you monitor your blood pressure and gives you hypertension alerts. So I'm like, okay, so you need brain dead to prove something for you. So yes, of course you have to go up and kiss his shitty diapery ass, suck on the mushroom if you will. But
Yeah.
hey, might as well say it while I still can. Fuck it.
Yeah, yeah, we going down definitely a different road.
But the dude at Fox News, Brian Kilmeade, he can advocate killing homeless fucking people on air
And
and
then have 2
wow,
shootings that happen
and homeless
in
camp.
homeless encampments. Yeah, and not be held accountable for the fact that your rhetoric leads to people doing you didn't tell them directly to go and do it, but you put the thought into their head,
Mhm.
and then they go and they do something similar, but because it's not exactly what you said, you're like, I mean, I didn't tell them to do it. I didn't tell.
It's like this. I loaded the gun, but I didn't pull the fucking trigger.
Yeah, like, that was on them. Who told them to pick up the gun? Who told them to pick up the gun? I didn't tell them to pick up the gun. Yeah, and I want people to understand the First Amendment, because when I tell you that the whiniest, most sensitive group of people are the same people that are constantly talking about First Amendment, and y'all will whine and you will complain and you will Karen your way about everything. About everything. And we was just sitting back, be like, we didn't do that. What we tell you is how the First Amendment works is it applies to the government. It states that the government cannot hold you accountable for your speech as long as it does not bring danger to the population. And when you scream First Amendment rights to a company, it does not apply, because companies have their own, what do they call it? It's not moral contracts, but
Perfect.
ethics, right? Like, they have their own ethics policies and everything like that. And when you say certain things and in a way you're connected to them, they have a right to fire you. When you are spewing hate speech, you are showing yourself to be racist, sexist, or whatever else, and you get fired, the company can do that. Now, granted, you can go and sue them, but that's a consequence. It's not being politically correct to hold people accountable for what they're saying. It's not. Especially when you're spewing hate. When did we get to the point where you're like, oh, nobody should be held accountable, but especially not them? Because when we do it, you want to drag us under the bus and drive over us for every single thing that comes out of our mouth, because because y'all some fucking sensitive people. I'm sorry. It irks my soul on. I cannot sit here and be like, I didn't care either way about the death of someone. I didn't put anything out there towards that, but if you ask me, I didn't care either way. And then all of a sudden you want to threaten me.
For
But
not
you can about not caring. You want to threaten me and my livelihood about not caring, but y'all be the same ones that whenever our people have died, you have made memes, you have started trends, okay? Y'all, like, going all the way back to Trayvon Martin, when y'all were standing in line to meet George Zimmerman and shake his hand for killing a teenage boy.
in his own damn business.
Yeah, a teenage boy. Don't forget the race thing. He killed a teenage boy walking down the street where he lived. And y'all went and met him. That man sold that gun for $200,000. And we didn't see y'all up in arms about him selling a weapon that he used to kill a kid. Like we didn't see that when y'all were taking meme photos with Skittles and what was it, Snapple or whatever it was.
M&Ms and
Yeah, and you were taking photos on the ground looking like you were shot. with the food that he had on him. Okay? And we can't, you got free speech though. You were able to do that. But you want to force us to care about things that we don't care about. And when we don't care about it, we're in the wrong. We're less than human because we didn't care about someone that didn't even like us, couldn't stand us at all, who would literally look me in the face and say that I don't deserve everything that I've earned because I'm not smart enough, even though I'm college educated with 2 degrees,
And he dropped out of what? Junior college?
community college? And you're gonna say that I'm not smarter than you? That if my job, I probably took it from a white man? Like, what are we doing? And then because even like Jimmy Kimmel's a white man, and y'all dragging him for calling y'all out on something that we don't want to deal with as a country. We have a violent problem in this country, and that violent problem is white men and boys who do not know how to regulate their fucking emotions. Because our boys aren't going out and shooting up schools. That's not ours. Hispanic boys aren't going out and shooting up schools. Asian boys aren't going up and shooting out schools. Native Americans aren't going out and shooting up schools. It's y'all's people. And when we point it out, you want to drag us for it? Because you don't want to acknowledge the fact y'all got a problem raising your children. You raising them wrong. And you want to talk about how we raising them. You raising your boys wrong.
Snap, snap.
Look,
It's, I love how the party of we hate cancel culture all of a sudden can't,
cancel culture,
cancel culture. Free speech for
they're
me.
hypocritical. That's the
Yeah.
hypocrites.
The hypocrisy of it all. Free speech for me, but not for thee.
Uh-huh.
And speaking of school shootings, you know, there was one that went down pretty much simultaneously as
Mm-hmm.
the incident with Kirk. And
What they
what
look like, Eddie, what they look like.
they were people of the paste. It happened in Colorado, and instead of even taking any time to acknowledge that, Kirk's death has gotten all the run. Instead of making his death. And here's the thing, if you really wanted to make him a real martyr and stop trying to force shit down people's throat, pass gun legislation after him, you know?
And name it after him.
You know,
He'll
there
live in infamy for the rest of his life.
thank you. There are ways that you can take that dude. I try not to speak ill of the dead. There are ways you could take that dude and immortalize him the way you want and use it for good to actually make it work instead of trying to force us as a country to feel something that we don't. And I think what has gotten them is that the majority of people, really, even white people, are like, no, um, it's just very disheartening. The NFL moments of silence for all these things. The Yankees did a moment of silence. I think they only did that because it was 9/11 and Cheeto 47 was there at the game. I don't know. But I was like, and as a diehard Yankees fan, that cut me a certain way. But yeah, it's too much. And I really do hope Kimmel sues, and I hope he wins. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens when this is appealed all the way to the court, how they are going to try to chop and screw the First Amendment, because I do not have faith in this court.
Just my opinion. And I mean, I would love if it was the opposite of what I'm about to say. I can see him capitulating. Thank you to Kamala Harris for teaching me that word. If they apologize and give him his job back, I can see him backing down if they apologize and give him his job back. Because that's on the table from what I hear. It's on the table on them publicly apologizing and possibly giving him his show back.
Because they don't want, I see it too, but from the corporate standpoint, ABC, again, going back to the Democrats, everyone is underestimating how fucking tired, how fucking mad the American people really are. Get out of your fucking corporate PR bubbles. Get out of your fucking ops. Whoever is running the ops for the Democrats, y'all are not on the street. You're not paying attention to what the people are really saying.
You're not listening to us. You're not talking to us.
Yeah, because majority of the people, poll after poll, is telling you The people are not down with this bullshit. The people, one thing most people can agree on is the First Amendment. You've even had some brave Republicans, like when fucking Ted Cruz comes out, and I find myself, Ted Cruz didn't even have a broke clock moment. He just had I tripped over a decent thing to say moment. But when you find yourself agreeing with fucking Ted Cruz and Tucker fucking Carlson in the same fucking week, you know you're living in the fucking upside down.
Yeah.
And so when you are not listening, you're underestimating. Y'all are giving, and that's the thing, y'all are giving into this
Right.
fucking bully thinking, oh, but the people are telling you that's not what they fucking want. So ABC, yes, they probably realized how bad they fucked up with how bad their stock tanked, and they didn't think, oh, who would care? You know, you let a bunch of conservative owned local stations try to run $1 billion corporation and tell you what to do and how to do this
Yeah.
because they have some merger that they want to get through. And again, they're sniffing the diaper of some shitty ass wannabe. Like, for real. Just, Anyway, moving on to, I kind of just want to, I don't know, how do we get this? So, you said we had a lot more things to talk about as people, Black people, to be concerned about. So, and I love what you called it in our pre-meet. You called it strange fruit. And I'm like, what does the Billy? And I'm like, I got it. I got it. So, Trey Reed, 20-year-old, he was 20, I believe, right? 2022,
21.
21, student at Mississippi Delta State University or Delta State University in Mississippi, was found hanging from a tree. And he
On
appeared
campus.
on campus, and he apparently hung himself. First of all, uh,
He did not. Let put that gonna shut that down real quick.
we
He
don't hang
did
ourselves from
not.
trees.
We don't. Like, we may do a lot of stuff, but that is one thing that as a collective, we know we do not do. We do
We
not hang
hang
ourselves
ourselves
from
from trees.
trees,
If we gonna hang ourselves, we gonna do it from something in our house,
but not a tree.
not a tree.
Not a tree.
I think it's one of those ancestral things that's ingrained in us. We don't do that. And all of the rumors initially, it happened around the time of that other incident that we don't have to bring up that we just spent the first part of the show talking about. But the initial rumors that I heard is that he had gotten into it with some white kids or and they had gotten into it. The dude told him he was going to come back for him or something like that. Anyway, they were saying that he had abrasions and contusions and 2 broken legs and how'd he get up in a tree. I'm like, where was the ladder? But then all of a sudden he went, when they took him to have the autopsy, it was clean, it was smooth, it was nothing. He had no abrasions, no contusions. And I'm like, well, he would have had the bruises from where he hung himself around his neck. Again, how did he get up in the tree? But then it comes out that no foul play was the whole thing that was kind of suspicious, right? He didn't leave a letter. He hadn't exhibited any signs that this is what he was thinking about, as far as I know. Nothing, no foul play, no suspicions. But then they told his family that he had died in his dorm room. So I'm like, that's suspicious all of it in itself. So NFL public enemy number one, my hero, Kaepernick, is going to pay for a second private autopsy to get to the bottom of what happened to Trey Reed. I love that strange fruit. What's your thoughts on all of that?
Once again, we don't hang ourselves from trees. We do a lot of stuff. That is just one thing we know as a community. And I don't care what side of the aisle you are politically. That is just one thing we don't do. We do not hang ourselves from trees. And to take it a step further, we don't hang ourselves from trees in the state of Mississippi. We don't do that. I will say I started to go down like conspiracy road on thinking that with all of the lies and falsehoods that have been coming out, it must be somebody well connected who's involved in this. And that is the reason why they're throwing a whole bunch of nonsense at us to confuse us and have us running around in circles, right? Because if they feel that if they have us running around in circles long enough, we'll give up or we'll move on to something else to focus on. Okay. Now, y'all may move on to something else, but that's not how we work. Not in 2025. Okay. So I am more inclined to believe that because you kept saying like how he get up in the tree. You right. Like, you right. Where the ladder at? You right, you right. Like, who helped him? Who helped him? Because I'm more inclined to believe that he was abused. I'm more inclined to believe that he had some serious injuries to his body before he was hung from that tree. I was so happy, brought a smile to my face when I heard that Colin Kaepernick had offered to pay for a private autopsy because when people started to circulate this story, that is the one thing that people kept saying as they were commenting on it was for the family to get a private autopsy done. Do not trust law enforcement to do it for you. Do not trust the government to do it for you. Get your own private autopsy, which is not cheap. Okay, it's not cheap to get a private autopsy, but it was the push for people were starting to donate in order to allow them to raise the money that they needed to get a private autopsy done in order to see exactly what happened to their son, their cousin, their brother, their nephew, their grandson. And I'm for that. I just once again, it's just another sign of just where we are as a country. Like we move so far beyond that for a very long time. And maybe I was just living in a bubble and not I can understand if, some people is like you was just living in a bubble, like it's all and I understand things were still happening, like definitely. Like we would still hear stories like of this. But I feel like these people have gotten so bold that they're doing it in our face and daring us to get up, get out of our houses, and go into those streets so they can kill more of us. Like, I just feel like they're getting real bold because when you think about the guy, I forget if he was the one who helped write Project 2025 or if he's just the one who's connected to the vice president, but he did his thesis on Black resistance. It's an older white man, and he did his thesis on Black resistance. He studied us in detail, and everything that I feel they're doing is based on his research and the data. And we threw them off in November when, as a collective, without saying anything, we sat our asses down and we said, we're just going to live our lives. And it's not that we don't care. It's not that, we still have the fight in us. We do. But as a collective, as a community, and yeah, there's still some of us that's out there, like, standing up and marching and everything like that. The same ones that are getting the first ones to get arrested in these protests and these marches that they're having. But as a collective, the rest of us was like, nah, we good. Like, we understand, like, but while y'all may get round up, you're going to survive them rounding you up. We won't. And knowing the world that we're currently living in, the country that we're currently living in, like we sitting down and Eddie, I think they don't know what to do with themselves because we're
Yeah.
not doing what they research that we do every time. We're at the front of every civil rights moment in the history of the United States as a country. We have been at the forefront of everything. Even if it was another group of people that were fighting, we were still there at the front teaching them what they needed to do to move forward. And instead we just like, nah, y'all got this. We good. Like we're going to survive. We're just trying to survive.
Yeah, and it's like Pavlov's training where they think they can blow that whistle and we're just gonna, go up like dogs. And it's like when you say it's interesting that he did his research on us, I'm like, okay, but was it really on us or the stereotype of how you think we're going to act?
No, he did it on like it was actual research. Like it was an actual like studying like the civil rights movement and the different movements that we've had, Black Panthers and like he studied us, not just the stereotypes, but how we've reacted in every civil rights moment in history in order to build this moment
But see,
that we are in now.
and I think what he doesn't realize is that and what they all don't realize is that we do have brain processing power. And
Yeah.
a lot of us, we've read Project 2025. We read enough to know. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I read all 1,000 pages, but I got it to pull up. Even though y'all took it off the internet, I got it to pull up if I need it. You know,
Hmm.
I'm smart enough to know you don't write 1,000 page missive if you don't fucking plan on using parts of it, which by the way, they are. This is Project 2025, all of this
50,
bullshit.
50% through, 50% in 9 months.
But also, you underestimate Black people when we say we done, especially Black women. When we say
We
we
done.
done, we done. When we've had enough, and we get tired of shouting into the fucking wind. We get tired of telling people and showing people the same thing over and over, only for us to get them through the moment, and then you go back and do the same bullshit over and over again.
Yep.
So this all traces back to Obama. It's not his fault.
But his achievements and his
His achievement
success has had a negative effect on our history as a country, when it
because
should have had such a positive, progressive effect on where we were as a country, to be so proud of ourselves that we had moved it beyond our history and where we came from, and to know that we did that, and it scared them to the point that they reverted back.
so far.
So like, I don't even think we're in the 1900s at this point.
I liken it to probably the Gilded Age. We're probably in between the Reconstruction and Gilded Age. Not quite Jim Crow, not for everybody. You give them a chance, and they want to take us back there. And it's it's really disheartening. I'm disheartened, but not surprised again that this Trey Reed story is not getting a lot of press. Most of where you're going to read about it is independent press,
Yeah,
independent media. I hope the autopsy gives the family the answers that they need, that they want. I hope that it is conclusive. You know me, you talked about the conspiracy rabbit hole. I pray nothing happens to the body in between their getting it to the autopsy.
I agree. Yes,
And it's the conspiracy mind, but it's also the realistic mind of knowing, especially in that state, and its history and its present and probably its future of how we've been treated in that country, in that state, and the things that they have been able to get away with doing to us. We talked about sundown towns. That's a fucking sundown state. It is truly a state that I just fucking drive through and pray the whole time. I tell people when we leave in New Orleans, if you gotta use the bathroom, do it now. Cause the only way I'm stopping in this motherfucker is if I have to, like car breaks down or something. Like
I know.
it's just something driving through there that comes over my spirit. Like I even feel better in Alabama, and that tells you something, than I
Yeah,
do in that fucking state.
I do. Look, we drove to Universal Studios one time years ago, and we were sharing. It was three of us, and we were sharing driving. And I remember telling my sister, "I'm not driving through Mississippi." And she said, "What?" And I said, "I'm telling you now that we better work out who's driving when, so that when we get to Mississippi, y'all are driving through Mississippi. I can't. I just can't. My mind not gonna be right to make it through that state, even though I'm just driving through." And when we got into the state, like, it was just fear. And it's not even thinking that like something's gonna happen, but it was just fear just came over me. And it didn't go away until we got out, because there's a level of like fear that anything can happen. And if anything happens to me, there I'll never be found. No justice will ever be brought to my name if anything was to happen. Like, people disappeared. Like, Mississippi is where they found all of those bodies under that jail cell, under that jailhouse. Like, what was it? I think it was like last year, okay, where they dug up. It was like 100 bodies under that jailhouse in Mississippi from decades. Like, so when people try to say, "Oh, it's not that bad," you're lying. You're because I'm from Jersey. I mean, not to say, like, I tell you, like, Jersey got their issues, definitely, okay, because there's racism everywhere you go. But I tell you right now, I bet you there ain't no jailhouse with bodies, unless they're slaves, because they just threw them in. But there's no like bodies from like people who were arrested and just magically disappeared under our jailhouses in Jersey. And if there is, and if it was ever discovered, like, people will be burning buildings down in order to hold these people accountable. From what I see, nobody was really held accountable for that.
Mm.
Like, you had one or two people fired or interviewed, but there wasn't like everybody going down for this kind of thing. It was like, let me give y'all one or two people. And so yeah, that yeah, so like I said, just the state alone, which has a large Black population, because after the Civil War, most Black people didn't have the funds to move to the North. You know, we had a lot that did, but most Black people ended up staying in the South. That's why the South still has the largest Black population in the country, is because they didn't have the funds to move beyond, their state and beyond the borders of their state. So they have large Black populations and they've been dealing with it. So yeah, yeah. We don't do that. I really hope that his family find out the truth, and I hope that nothing happens in between now and then to his body in any way, like you said. And then I would like to know if my conspiracy is correct, because I just feel just how they twisting and turning on the details. I swear it got to be somebody connected to someone in that state. It got to be somebody with some type of power or clout or pull, who is connected in some way, that they're trying to protect and trying to, because to say that he died in his dorm room and you knew for a fact that he didn't, but that's the first thing you told his family, and then you corrected yourself, and then people said that when they saw him, he looked like he had his limbs broken, but you say that there was no bruises whatsoever on his body. Like, it's just conflicting details, which is you're trying to confuse us.
Yeah.
You're trying to confuse
It's
us.
it reeks of cover up. So like I said, I hope that they get the answers and I hope that they get to the truth and I hope they find who did it and hold them accountable and get some justice. And
Yeah.
like I said, shout out to NFL public enemy number one, Kaepernick. So it's gosh, so much. Kind of sticking with that or changing gears a little bit. What do you think? Are you gonna read Kamala's book?
I don't read, that's not my,
Political.
genre.
I'm interested. She came out and said what I thought. I remember when people asked me, you might remember this. I told you who I wanted her first choice for vice president to be. And I said Buttigieg. And she agreed. In her book, she said that when I told everyone who I thought she should pick, Buttigieg, everyone said the same thing. And I knew it in my heart. America wasn't ready for that. It was going to be a chore enough to get her elected.
Mhm.
And I think she was right. But it's just confirmation to know I could be a political operative. Uh,
You could.
but, I could be the new scandal. It's handled.
Political science.
But I am interested in reading her book because at first I thought it was just gonna be, not necessarily fluff, but
Mhm.
from the clips that I've seen and the snippets I read, sis is spilling all the tea. And she's not playing a political game anymore. Does that make sense?
It does.
So I want to read it to see her honesty about what really happened in her own words. And from my understanding, she is being really honest. And she's got a lot of the Democratic establishment pissed off because she's calling them out on their, how do we say it? They're what you and I would call Austin Democrats. And that's an inside joke between me and Tammy. And that is that the liberal, especially the liberal elite, they don't want to, the Democratic liberal elite don't want to address their latent misogyny and racism.
Mhm. They don't wanna rock the boat, so
Yeah.
status quo.
And a lot of them, they don't realize it, but they have these latent misogynistic racist tendencies.
Mhm.
And and when you call them out on it, it gets performative and it gets Karen-y and I'm not that you know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
So she does that. And a lot of the people on Biden's team take offense. And from my understanding, one of the worst ones, especially when she was working in the White House, is a certain former redhead press secretary who now has her own show on NBC or MSNBC.
Really?
Know that she names her by name, but
You know
so
she's boring as shit, right?
she is, yes.
Like,
Yes, yes. She was a good press secretary,
she was
but
a
her
great, I will say, I think she was a great press secretary, but as a political commentator with her own show, she don't have it.
mm-mm.
She's not a Nicole. She's not a Nicole.
And so it just goes that so how I know this is I did not know that her best friend, Kamala's best friend, is married to Reginald Hudlin of the Hudlin brothers, the directors. And so
Give me a movie.
house party. So someone said hinted at what I just said, right? And he co-signed on it. And I was like, "Okay." And I've long thought that because if you watched her show during the election season, she's always been really tepid. And I was really surprised at her lack of loyalty to her former boss. And I think that besides the fact that I didn't watch it because I just thought she was boring, as you said,
Mhm.
I thought her lack of loyalty and throwing him under the bus the way she did, I didn't understand that. Like, this is your former boss. So when it seemed like everyone was jumping on the pile on Biden train, I
She
wouldn't have
jumped in.
expected that from her, but she did. So, but yeah, I'm interested to read the book. So I will let you.
You gotta let me know because I don't necessarily I don't read those types of books. That's the reason why I like, I never read Michelle Obama's book. It's been on the list. And I never read Spare, even though
So,
no,
spare.
and I know everybody says that, but I tried, but I really like that's just not my genre, right? So even though I would be very interested, like I was so interested in reading Spare, like it's just not my genre. Like it just could not hold my interest. While if he was to like, which he did, during his interviews and like, he talked about like certain parts of the book and everything. I was all up in that. Like I was sitting there, I was listening to him, I was watching him, the accent helps as well. But But when it came to, like, if somebody was to just be like, "Let me just read it to you," I'd have been like, "Okay," because I'd have been like, "Oh, okay, cool, like, yeah, like, do that," because I can't sit there and read it, but, yes, I'd be interested to see what you think because I know that you've read other books within that genre. And so I trust your opinion, Eddie. If you tell me that it's good, then I will trust that it is phenomenal. I only read one book. I read Shonda Rhimes' book, Say Yes or something like that. Is the name of her book. And I read that. It took me a while. It took me a while to get through that book. But I did read that book. And when I tell you, I couldn't tell you one thing that I read in that book. Like one message or story
You didn't take away anything from the book?
at all, and the thing is, it was good. Like, I enjoyed it when I was reading it, but, like, it didn't hold any weight with me, so that kinda, like, let me know, like, that's just not my forte, but, I'm really excited. I think that I love the fact that she's gonna be open on her experience, because I'm very interested in hearing her experience, being that she was the first Black woman vice president and the first Black woman to be on a major political ticket. I think that's an absolutely phenomenal feat to have. And I also think that I can't wait to see how history books write the experience
Yeah.
and the event because she is one of the most intelligent people to work in our government and to hold such a position of power and influence and to know that she was beaten by someone that let's just say was not on her level. To just interesting to see how the history books and how other countries will write about the event, not necessarily us, because I feel like we're at a point in our history that it will not be written correctly. They will rewrite it a certain way, but it'd be interesting to see how other countries write about the moment that was Harris.
Yeah. I I agree, and I think that, she's gonna be on Rachel on Monday night by the time this
Ooh,
is
you should
released.
send me a text message so you can remind me.
Well, by the time is released, that will have already happened, but, she's starting her press tour, so I hope everyone, um,
Watches.
tunes in and watches, and the job was stolen from her by a man who thinks Cat in the Hat is advanced reading, who can't even comprehend fucking Dr. Seuss. So, yeah.
My God, not the Cat in the Hat.
That is advanced. That is, too literate for his dumb ass. But yeah. Um, Sticking on the politics, Hochul, Mondani, how do you say that dude's name? Mondami?
Mamdani.
Yeah, Mondami got his first big political endorsement. Hochul, the governor of New York. She has endorsed him.
That's who you were. I was like, who the heck is Hoko?
Yeah.
The woman. Okay,
The
not
governor of New York
okay.
has officially endorsed him. Schumer and Rapping Hakeem can't endorse him, but they can support fucking Charlie Kirk National Remembrance Day. Again, I think the Democrats are letting, for some people who don't,
Sellouts.
For people who don't want language to get in the way, they're letting language get in the way.
Mhm.
Again, we don't have to rehash it. We've talked about it. Socialist is not what you fucking think it is. And if y'all did a better job of explaining and working the words, using the words and the language to your advantage, you would you would win more people because his policies are actually very popular. They're what everybody's saying. The billionaires shouldn't be controlling everything. No. And he wants to make New York affordable for the people who already live there. Like,
Who've
I,
been living there for generations.
you
Like,
know,
you're pricing them out of homes that they have lived in for generations. You're gentrifying a whole entire city from people who have brought the culture to it. Like, what do you think New York City is going to be when you push all of these people out that make New York what it is, one of the biggest cities in the world
most
and
culturally
one of
diverse.
the most diverse cities in the world? You got other major cities, yeah, but they're very, what is the word, homogenous?
Watch 'em.
Yeah, they're very homogenous. Most of the people who live in that city look exactly the same, okay? Like Tokyo, one of the largest cities in the world. The largest, is it the largest city in the world, I think?
It might be
I think
Tokyo or Hong Kong or Shanghai. It might be Tokyo or one of the Chinese
I
cities.
think it's Tokyo. Tokyo is the largest city in the world. It's very homogenous. Most people are Japanese. They look Japanese, you know? And so New York is probably one of the largest cities that is the most diverse. And you're trying to push all that diversity out. Like, I digress. I'm done. I just
Yeah, it's just sad, And instead of make America healthy again, which is a joke, make America great again, just say make America white again, like for real. Like, but in all honesty, it's never been just that because, people and their lack of history. But also here in Texas, we got James Talarico running for the Senate. I'm excited about that. His campaign raised over $1 million in the first 12 hours. He's been doing, I think he apparently Colin Allred is running again too. I just want to put that in there. I see your face. But Talarico is taking a play from Beto's, the popularity of Beto's playbook, and he's going to places that most of us wouldn't really go to. And I think, and I'm going to say us, I mean Democrats. He's going to those red places because according to Texas, it's all fucking red. So unless you were going to campaign in what, 5 places now, you would really have no choice. And the response that he's been getting in these places is really, really heartening. I think it gives you hope. And now is the time, especially with all this redistricting, I think it shows that maybe their plan is going to backfire. And I think that a lot of them know that. A lot of other red states, unnecessarily so, are jumping on the redistricting bandwagon. And I'm like, but you're fucking red from top to bottom. What is that going to do? You know? I think, and the Indiana governor, I want to say it's the governor of Indiana said the quiet part out loud that these states are actually getting pressure from Trump. I haven't lived in Indiana since I was a kid, but I know my home state. Okay. Anything south of Indianapolis, I call Northern Kentucky. I don't think Indiana has a black representative in the state. Like, I'm not familiar with their state politics, but I know on a national level, ain't nobody black representing Indiana. Like, I don't even think anybody Democratic is repping Indiana. So, bruh, unless it might be that little area around South Bend in Chicago, but that little area around South Bend, which is where Mayor Pete is from. Shout out to South Bend, Indiana. But anyway, I digress. But you get the point I'm trying to make.
think I think Tellerico has, like, I was telling you, off camera, that I was waiting to see what he would announce because everybody was waiting to see if he was going to announce that he was going to run for governor against Abbott or if he was going to run for U.S. Senate against Cornyn or whoever becomes because Cornyn's being primaried right now. And so, but I was really excited. So when it announced that it was going to be U.S. Senate, I was like, oh my gosh, because Tellerico has something that Beto didn't have. And that is that when he speaks from the position of a Christian man who has grown up in the church, whose grandfather was a pastor, whose father is a pastor, who he has also preached within the church. It's a Baptist church, okay? That's as Southern as you can get. in the Christian area. Okay. And so it's really excited because when he makes, I know, he has his sound bites and everything, but whenever he talks from the position of Christianity because so many Republicans talk from the position of Christianity. And he recites scripture and he throws it right back at them on what the actual teachings of Christ is. And I think that that is very powerful. And that's something that Beto didn't have. So when he goes into these red districts, these very religious red districts, that is something that Tellerico is going to be able to do and bring up that Beto was never able to do when he was talking to these people. So I'm hoping that that definitely gives him a leg up in this. I will say that Colin Allred is establishment and they really want him in there, even though they know that he doesn't have what it takes to carry the state of Texas. Like, he doesn't. Like, he didn't come nowhere close to where Beto was. He doesn't go in the same places that Beto has gone. He doesn't go in the same places that Tellerico has gone already. Like, Tellerico, when he went to Chicago, when they were doing their quorum, breaking quorum, when they were breaking quorum, what is one of the first places that he went? He went to one of the largest Black churches in Chicago. One of the largest Black churches in Chicago. Okay? Colin Allred isn't doing that. He didn't do that last time he ran, and he's not going to do that this time.
And I hate to say this, but Colin Allred is a convert. And I'm not trying to be purist in the politics or anything like that. I know a lot of people who have switched parties because
What?
they
He
are,
was a Republican?
yeah.
Oh, that changes my whole perspective. Okay, gotcha.
Um,
Didn't know that.
and so that's where that middle of the road thing comes from.
Mhm.
And I think what a lot of these people, he's giving Fetterman, but not to the whole dishonesty of Fetterman. Because Fetterman he never ran as a Republican. Even when he was lieutenant governor of
Mhm.
Pennsylvania,
He
he
was
was
still a
different. He was
Democrat.
progressive. I don't know. People say he's changed since he had the stroke. I don't know if it affected his brain chemistry or what. I don't know. But what I mean is he's giving Fetterman is he's too, I guess you said it right, establishment, old school, wants to run that bipartisan politics, and he still has too much of that conservative blood in him of the way things used to be when you could play a more gentleman's game of politics, and it's to the point now where I tell people you got to pick sides. And to me, it's not necessarily Democrat or Republican, because I honestly, if I had to choose, I would probably choose independent, but I know what that connotates or indicates in this political climate, you know.
Mm.
Um, I'm not gang on busters because I'm pissed off at the Democrats too.
Yeah,
But I
I
know at
agree.
this point they're lesser of the two evils, if I can
And
say
that's
that.
the mindset that a lot.
Uh, yeah. And so, but you got to pick a side, and the side is fascism, democracy. Save
Mhm.
this country or let it burn. To me, that's the side. And I know one
Everything else can
side,
be resolved later, but
yeah.
that's what we need to focus on.
And I know one side is all for letting it fucking burn so they can rebuild it in their image. And the way, when I look at what that looks like, it looks like the fucking Hunger Games. It's so fucking dystopian. It's not even funny. And so I don't think he's the man for the moment because I think he doesn't have the fight in him. Does that make sense?
Yes.
He's always trying to be too political, too correct, too middle of the road. Look, I can vote with this. I'm Texas this. And again, pay attention to what the people are saying. You can go out and take your message and be
Mhm.
honest with the people. Because two things can be true. You
At
can be
once.
straight up from Texas. You can think our immigration laws fucking suck. I can't tell you the last time they've been fixed. Yes, it needs to be fixed. Is immigration the problem that they want you to think it is? No, it is fucking not. As someone who lives in Texas, I can tell you now, our border is not being overrun by drug addicts and murderers. And most of the people, again, the person who killed Kirk, was he an immigrant or was he an American? The person who shot up the school in Colorado, immigrant or American? Most of the crime that is happening in this country, but you take the few who come here and commit crimes and you try to make them the poster child for a whole entire group of people, which is wholly unfair. Again, I just had reservations about Allred in the beginning when he last ran. Those reservations have not subsided. So I am all in on Tallarico. And that's just what I have to say. I'm all in on
I
Tallarico.
also think there's a woman that I follow. I think it's her handle is Black Women Who Brunch or Black Woman Who Brunches or likes to brunch. And she's really she's a lawyer. She's kind of like you, like she was born in Missouri. Her family moved to Houston when she was young, and she's been here ever since. She went back to Missouri for college and then moved right back to Houston after she graduated law school. And she's like, I'm about this life. She was like, I love my city. I love my state because I know what it can be. Right. And so what she said is with All Red, and the reason why she never got on board with him is because all of the money that he raised was outside money. He couldn't raise that money in Texas, which means that people in Texas did not support Colin Allred being our nominee to run in the Democratic Party for US Senate. And she was like, what people need to understand is you ask the people in the state, who are y'all behind? And if you had asked anybody in Texas, a Democrat in Texas, who were they behind when people were running, they wouldn't have chosen Colin Allred. He wouldn't have been a choice for us. But all of that outside money that they poured into him because he's an establishment Democrat. Like, I didn't know about him switching sides. And so that makes a lot of sense now, on where he stands in some things. And she said that's what needs to be recognized. But she said that, and that's why she's been very, very supportive of Tellerico from when she first started hearing the rumors about him running for a bigger office than state representative. He said because Tellerico is about Texas. This what he's about. She said now he's in a safe district, of course, because he represents a district around Austin. She said, but he's about this life. Like this is him, right? Like as I said from the beginning, like I'm true to this. I'm not new to this. And so that's Tellerico. And so she said that's the reason why she's fully behind him. And she says she would wish and hope that Allred would step back, knowing that you couldn't even break in last election because nobody was supporting you last election. How about you sit down? But I feel in a way he's an op. I feel in a way he's a plant in order to make us as Democrats, and I understand the whole, being independent, but at this point in the political sphere that we're in, we got to be on one side or the other. It's
Mhm.
a democracy or fascism, and we know which side is which. And as a Democrat, I feel like he's an op. I feel like he's put in place to make us think that Democrats aren't trying and they're not doing, and to make us think that they're not doing anything in our state. Now, nationally, we can look at, the national Democrats and being like, we're not really flowing with them. But she's like, when you look at the ground, like Democrats, they're in the streets, like they're really pushing forward, but he would be the person to be put in place to make us think that that is what the Democrats chose. And Colin Allred is not what the Democrats of Texas have truly chosen because he's a plant by the establishment who wants to keep the status quo within the state of Texas so they can run off of the negative politics within the state of Texas. It's kind of like I feel with the national Democrats. I think in a lot of ways, the reason why they're making the decisions that they're making is because they're at a point where they only run off of what the dude in the White House is doing. They're only running off of him. They're campaigning off of him and what he's doing. I think there's some of them that were happy that he won the election in November because now they can spend the next 4 years talking about, oh, he's horrible. And that's the only way that they're at this point, that's the only way they're looking to get elected and to take over. People are talking about how, oh, they're going to take over the House and they're going to take over the Senate. And I'm just like, what are they going to do? Like, what is going to be their position? Because while they take over the House and they take over the Senate, I'm all about that. At the end of the day, y'all got to get rid of some of those establishments. You got to get rid of those old 70s, 80s, 90-year-olds who are still in the Senate and the House of Representatives who are like, I got rich off of these policies. So while I'm spewing, like, oh, I'm against this and that, behind the scenes, I'm being like, nah, you got my vote. Like, you good because my money's still up in the policies that they're throwing out there, not the policies of the Democrats. I'm making more money off of the Republican policy because I'm already rich. I'm that 1%. And so Colin Allred needs to sit his little behind down and go home. I need him to go home. so Tellurico can actually do something with the state that we're living in.
Speaking of old people retiring, gosh, I wanna say Jerry, what is his name? Someone from New York is retiring. I forgot his name, and he's high up in the establishment politics. But they said that word on the street is that Chelsea Clinton is considering running for his spot, and I have to remember his name.
I gotta see how
So,
that goes.
yeah. But, so we will see how the
Mhm.
politics plays out, but I agree. I was surprised. And really the only reason when Allred, even most Texans living here in Texas can speak to this, started supporting him or even realized that, hey, he might be viable is when he actually fully embraced the fact that he was a fucking Democrat and went to the national convention. After that, it's like, okay, we can maybe get on board with him. He's one of us,
And then he went right back.
it's still lukewarm. So I,
Yeah.
it's a primary, and I pray Tallarico comes out on top. I
Yeah.
really do. It's time to, in a lot of ways, burn down the establishment and stop letting people dictate the narrative. Like progressive is a dirty
Is that
word.
like
It's
the
not.
old guard? Is that what we would call the old guard?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Because progressive comes from the word progress,
okay.
and so it's just like it's time to make progress, and you can't if nothing change. And like I told some people the other day, nothing changes if nothing changes. And so, but speaking of changes, switching gears, going to the entertainment realm.
Woo!
Paramount, as we know, was bought out by Skydance. I love the way your face looked. David Ellison is the son of Larry Ellison, like the second richest man in the world, who for a couple hours last week took the title from Elon Musk. Larry Ellison is the owner of Oracle Software Tech Company, all of that, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So now, barely after the ink is dry on the Paramount Skydance merger, my favorite sarcasm, insert the sarcasm, person in entertainment, Zaslav, who fucking destroyed Warner Brothers and Discovery, they want to break up Warner and Discovery, and they're supposed to split the companies in two next year. So, but now Paramount is wants to buy Warner Brothers as a whole before they split it up. So there won't be a big bidding war. No one's going to really go after Discovery, which is mainly the TV side. Everybody wants Warner Brothers, which is HBO, CNN, TNT, all of that. They want the big streamer, and
Mhm.
so they're saying that there's probably going to be a bidding war because Netflix is also in the word on the streets. Netflix is also in the running to make a bid on the Warner Brothers side once they split up. But Paramount or Skydance or Ellison's theory is if he just takes the company as a whole, he can break it up how he wants and he'll have the assets that he wants. And I'm saying this because the ink isn't even dry on the Paramount deal, where you're still trying to lay off 2,000 people from that deal. And the people at CBS News are pissed because he came to them, promised them that they would get to keep their journalistic autonomy and integrity. And now he's installing Trumpites and Bari Weiss, who resigned in scandal from the fucking New York Times. She was a fucking Trump apologist. Like she was sucking on his mushroom for a while. And so the people at CBS News, they are upset with that. And, on to that, we can keep it, into two things. His daddy is word on the street is his daddy is behind the TikTok sell, a company from his daddy, Larry Ellison, is going that is Bear, a company behind it. His dad is behind the TikTok merger. So I'll let you take it.
I'm trying to see if he shows himself in the camera.
Let's see. Come here, Bear. Say hi to the people.
Boo! He's so cute. So I will say that with the TikTok purchase, did you hear like they're trying to create a whole new TikTok app that we would have to download that would look exactly like the TikTok app that we currently have? But he came back in. It would be run by an American company and an Israeli company at the exact same time. And so I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Like, it's already bad enough that we barely get world news anymore because of that fake shutdown that happened in January. That you want to even take away the connections that we have even more to what's going on in the world and to the world knowing what's going on in America at the same time. That's just another like violation of our First Amendment right on selling. Why do we have to own everything? Because my thing is that like y'all said that China was going to get our information and they were going to sell it and everything like that. I'm just going to say our information has already been sold because when Doge went up in there and they took all that, look, we ain't safe. It don't matter. We don't know what they doing with the information that they got during the Doge era. But also, when Oracle owns our information, what are you going to say then? Zuckerberg owns our information for the people that's on Instagram and Facebook and I think Snapchat, I think he owns as well. Musk owns our information for, Twitter. Refused to name it what that man named it. And so y'all are just, we ain't even got entertainment. We ain't even got entertainment no more.
I know it's
They're just taking everything. Just everything. Why you implementing this fascism? You're not even gonna let us be entertained. We're not even gonna be able to shut our brains off and enjoy some just good television or some good programming. No, make them suffer. Okay, they gotta be bored in this fascism. Like you like think two words. Two words can sum this up. Two words. American capitalism. American capitalism. Just like y'all don't know what socialism is, y'all also don't know what capitalism is. And you don't know how destructive capitalism has been to us as a nation. And then also the fact that you don't understand that we are a dominant capitalist nation with socialist policies. We just don't have as many socialist policies as other countries do. But there's socialist policies put in place. Now, some of those socialist policies go towards corporations. Corporations get socialism out the wazoo, right? And so that has just destroyed us because, once again, no child left behind. We do not understand how capitalism works. We do not understand how socialism works. We do not understand the benefits of capitalism, because I won't say capitalism completely evil. And we also do not understand the benefits of having socialist policies. We don't have to be a socialist nation. I fully understand that. Like, I get that on not wanting to be a full socialist nation, but we should have socialist policies that help us, that help the people, not corporations, not the ultra rich that don't need it, but everyday people that pay the taxes. And then when it gets time for us to get our taxes back in policies and benefits to help us in our everyday lives, y'all want to be like, that's socialism. You on your own. Do you say that to the corporations? Did you say that to the banks? Did you say that to the auto industry when they got bailed out? Did you say that to every single person that got a PPP loan during COVID that never had to pay it back? Half of them being our senators and representatives. Like, you didn't say
a
that then because
celebrity.
you didn't understand it was socialism on getting that. Like, I need y'all to be educated. Like, why is there so few people that are educated in this? Why
Because we
why does it feel like there's not enough people that are educated in how our government run? Granted, I understand, but on how our government runs, the policies that we have in place, how it ultimately trickles down, and how it affects us. The money don't trickle down, the debt does. And I don't understand why people don't get that. We're paying off the debt of a nation, of the rich that we have allowed to spend money up the wazoo. We are trillions in debt. You know what? Let me get off my high horse. I'm so sorry. Trillions in debt. We are y'all don't even understand what trillions is. Okay, y'all stopping at the billions, right? You hear about the billionaires and you don't even know what $1 trillion looks like. You have never seen a trillionaire. Although Musk is trying to become a trillionaire, he'll never be it, because when y'all identify these people as billionaires and trillionaires, you're not even talking about cash level. Okay, you're talking about stock level. I need people to understand that. All right. He would be a billionaire through stocks. It's like Kanye West. When Kanye West became a billionaire, was it through cash? Was he cash rich or was he stock rich? He was stock rich. He wasn't cash rich. Okay, because he had a in place. Be like, oh, he's a billionaire. He ain't no more. He ain't no more. Because as soon as that deal was canceled, what happened to him? He went right back down to be a multimillionaire. I need y'all to understand that kind of stuff. And I don't know, maybe we need to do some educational sessions, Eddie, because they're starting to annoy me on how people don't understand what fascism is. I tried to explain it to somebody and they say, we not in fascism. We not in fascism. And I said, yes, we are. And they were like, no, we not. We're too big to be a fascist country. That's what Eddie, I was told that. Like, I was told that. And I had the same reaction. They literally looked me in my face and said, America is too large of a country to be to fall into fascism. We're too big to fail was their mindset. We're too big of a nation to fail. And I was just like, and that is the problem that we have. That y'all look at America and the propaganda of we're exceptional and we're the greatest country in the world when we no longer are. I will say at one point we were. I will say we had that title and we were chucking along with that title. But in today's world, is America still the greatest country in the world? No.
You are who you allow to represent you. And we are being represented by a bottom feeder grifter and who doesn't know he doesn't know the history, the true history. He's dumb as fuck.
Doesn't know how our government runs, doesn't know
We're
how
being
anything
represented
runs
by
in
a
our government.
mediocre dude who's failed up his entire fucking life, and I can't even say he's fucking mediocre. He's less than mediocre. If it wasn't for his parents and him being born into wealth, he would probably just be another piece of poor white trash. And I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But I, you know, and if this were, again, if we were living on Earth One, there's no way the Paramount Warner Brothers merger would be ever able to go through if indeed it does, because it would be considered to be a monopoly.
They don't know what that is.
They don't. It's when you get rid of all your competition and your lack of competition. Now, on the other hand, if Netflix were got the merger, which I don't think they were, because if they do, you would have to hear Reed Galen walk back a lot of shit he said recently about Trump and Netflix, and they would have to bow to the ring and capitulate. So that might happen.
Yes.
But if just on a business level, if it went through, it would kill an already dying movie industry, especially in the theaters, going to the theater and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because everything would go on streaming. Everything would be
And
on everything.
which I hate. But that was my whole thing. And the whole TikTok thing, I'm not big on TikTok. We have a TikTok. I rarely post on that. We need assistance. Anybody who's willing to work for free, reach out, because that's our budget, free 99. But I just think it's sad how all these media companies, and it goes back to what I said before earlier, all these different companies, all these companies own the same thing. They're all owned by subsidiaries of the same company and have these same policies. And it goes back to TikTok is going to become another version of Twitter. What happened to Twitter is going to happen to TikTok. And people have already said that it's been limited
Yeah.
international content and limited,
You have to actually search for it to come up. Or you have to have already been following certain people in order to continue to see their content and content like that. But like there's a lot of people that have no idea what's going on in France. Like no idea about the fact that the French economy has completely collapsed
you
and
know,
why it's collapsed, right? They like because it's not showing up on people's social media.
you know.
It's not there. So, if you were to mention like, "Yo, did you hear about what's going on in France?" They'd be like, "No, what's happening?"
No, they don't even know our economy is on the verge of collapse.
Yeah,
And, and
right. American
and
capitalism.
American capitalism at its finest, again, insert sarcasm.
Mhm.
So, speaking of that and keeping in the entertainment industry, a lot of people, Georgia had become the Hollywood of the South, the new Hollywood. A lot of the film jobs, it was Hollywood light. A lot of film jobs went to Georgia. One of the biggest companies who started that, Marvel, they have taken all their toys and they've officially moved their studio to London. And Georgia, how did Georgia become the capital? Because it had great tax breaks. And guess why they left? It wasn't even the cost of production. It wasn't the tax credits. It was the
'Cause those
cost of
tax breaks are still there.
it's the fucking cost of healthcare. They
Yeah.
moved, and going back to those socialist policies you said,
Mhm.
I don't think a lot of people realize that we have some of the worst healthcare in the world and some of the most expensive healthcare in the world. And
Socialism.
And here's the thing, healthcare is going to skyrocket next year. Premiums, even for those of us with insurance, our premiums are going to go up. Recently, new job, went to the doctor, and when I signed up for it, I saw what my copay was supposed to be. But when I actually got there, my copay, I'm like, what the fuck? Is this? But it's
That
supposed to,
extra cost.
yeah. And so even the people who have AFCA, the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare, your premiums are going to go up over 75% next year. So they can't get rid of it, but they're going to make damn sure you can't afford it either. And so again, American capitalism is not what he wants you to think it is. we're not hiring. Our unemployment rate is the worst that it's been. It's almost back down to is pre-COVID. It's worse than it was during COVID. It's almost back to when it was in 2008 when we hit that recession, the Great Recession. We're heading back there. Housing, we've talked about that. So fucking expensive. The cost of a car, so fucking expensive.
Mhm.
Everything is just going up. So I'm not surprised they don't know that France is bottom up. Our economy right now is being supported by the top fucking 20%, and that's not fucking sustainable. Soybean farmers are now realizing, hey, you're billions of dollars usually in soybeans, and now that shit is just going to waste because their biggest purchaser of the soybeans, China, they are getting it from Brazil because of what? Trump's lovely tariffs, who won't affect the people. The corporations will pay it. The countries will pay it. But we, the people, will not pay it. We're going to be so rich off of these tariffs. And did
Look at
you
us
know
now.
300 million people OD'd on drugs last year in this country? Like 300 million people died off of drug overdoses in this country last year. That's what Cheeto 47 said. So, most of us are dead anyway. I mean, we might be in the twilight zone. That might be why shit is so fucked up because, we did you snort some bad booger sugar? Are you dead? Is this even real?
So on the farmer thing, because I'm on TikTok all the time. And so seeing how many of them are so upset that most people are like, you fucked around.
Are you finding out?
Now you finding out. And they're like, y'all have no sympathy, no sympathy. And we're like, you didn't have no sympathy in November. You ain't think of us in November. We voted in your best interest, but you didn't vote in ours.
Hmm.
And also, you believed people who had no experience in the economy to tell you how tariffs would work. And you just immediately believed them when they told you that it was going to immediately benefit you with no consideration over the fact that a lot of y'all had deals with the US aid that is gone because they dismantled that organization. All right. That was beneficial to us. Okay. Really quick for people who don't understand that the reason why America pays money to other countries, why we build schools, we build hospitals, we feed the poor, we feed the hungry, we educate their children, is because when we educate them, we throw in propaganda. We throw in the idea, thank America, because America did it. We want to build up the positive image because then they're more likely to want to make deals with us. They're more likely when they think that they want to build up some advancements in their country, that they're going to give the deal to an American company because of the money that we're going to pour in to the social services that's provided in that country. It's a what is it called? Quid pro quo? Okay, we get something out of that. Okay, we got something out of USAID. We got something out of going around and feeding the hungry and building schools and hospitals and providing health care and medicine to countries and people who were less fortunate than us in having these things available to them. That's gone. Y'all didn't think about that
And
because you were about the money, like, the money should be spent on Americans. You don't even want that because you was against it being spent on Americans anyway. Like what are y'all talking about? And then the China thing, and y'all were like, oh, we own China. And as soon as China realized that they weren't going to get a deal out of us that was beneficial to them, what did they do? It took them less than a month to be like, bet, got you. Brazil, what you doing? What's up? Y'all got some soybeans we can purchase? Okay, let's do that yearly deal. We got you. We gonna purchase from you. They'd be like, yo, but what about America? We heard y'all was purchasing all your soybeans from America for a long time. And they were like, fuck
yeah.
America. That's what they said. Fuck America.
Fuck America, fuck Trump too. He's just their
Yeah.
bitch. He's just Putin's bitch. Putin's my bitch.
And so they
Putin
were
leave me
like,
for the black
yeah.
man.
And so they were like, nah, we got you. And Brazil was like, bet. We 10 toes down. We got those soybeans for you. They're never coming back.
And if they
China's
do,
not coming back. We have lost them. Okay? To think one of our biggest trading partners
And we pissed off the other biggest investor when we arrested all their people at a battery plant a couple of weeks ago and still haven't figured out how to fucking apologize for that because, make
Or
America great
apologizing
again.
secretly, because that's something that they do now. Calling them up secretly and trying to be like, "No, no, no, like, it's okay, like, we got you, like, we're gonna protect your people and da, da, da." But publicly, you don't know us. Publicly, you don't know South Korea. Publicly, you don't know South Korea,
And that's not,
okay? But did you notice how when this whole thing went down and South Korea sent that plane for their people, you notice how they didn't drag South Korea once? There's no, like, actual bad press out of the administration towards South Korea
because they know
at
they fucked
all?
up. They know
Yes.
they know that they fucked up and they can't afford to lose investments because it was hard enough to get the people to come in and invest. And they don't realize that what is keeping us going is not American exceptionalism, it's foreign investments in our fucking country. And that is the thing. You don't trust someone who can't even handle their own business to handle the business of a fucking nation. Someone who has been bankrupt 13 fucking times to run a country. Someone who is petty and just knows nothing, who puts podcasters in charge of the fucking FBI, who puts a fucking spy in charge of our fucking national security, who puts a cosplaying puppy killer Barbie doll in charge of Homeland Security. Like, it's so who puts a failed fucking lawyer in charge of the DOJ, who gets a couch fucker as his fucking vice president, although in his defense, he didn't want the couch fucker. I could only imagine who he would have chosen instead of the couch fucker.
Yeah. That
But
that that person was forced upon him. Definitely.
so it's just like it's just a fucking mess. But so moving on from all
Oof.
of that, the Emmys, Adolescence in the Pit. I've seen Adolescence. I haven't seen The Pit. The Pit is on HBO. I don't have HBO. I pay for enough. Noah Wiley, although who is, may I add, aging like fine fucking wine. That man is gorgeous, even they were the big winners this year. Adolescence is a slow burn on Netflix. It's back in the top 10. It's a slow burn, but it's good. I like the message. It was just a slow.
So
Did you?
basically, I'm not watching it.
Yeah. Rest in peace to Robert Redford. He's Butch and Sundance are back together again. You
Wait,
didn't know
what?
Rep- you didn't know Robert Redford had passed away?
No. Wait,
Oh
wait,
yeah.
wait. Wait, when?
Earlier this week, he was 89 years old. Yeah. Robert Redford. I'm sorry. I didn't know that. This moment of silence is real, people. She is really shocked. Butch and Sundance back together again. I didn't even
I didn't
mention
know
it
that.
in the pre-meet because I
And
thought
that's what's in my head. I was like, she didn't even mention it when we were having our pre-conversation
I just
to kind
thought
of be like, "Oh, we'll talk about." Oh
in
my
our
god!
production
Oh
meeting,
my god!
I just assumed, but in our production meeting, I did not mention it. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to break your heart.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay,
yeah, but he's
yeah, let's have a moment of silence.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, rest in peace. I'm
Rest
sorry to hear.
All I said was Butch and Sundance reunited
I always
again.
thought he had swag.
Yeah, he's back with his best friend, Norman
Okay,
Redford,
okay.
him and,
One, Paul Newman,
yeah.
beautiful eyes.
Cardi B dropped her
Okay, you
second
did say that.
album, Am I the Drama? And I'll tell y'all what I told Tammy. After listening to it, I can say, yes, bitch, you are the drama, but in the best type of way. She brings the heat. She has amazing features. Kaylani, Summer Walker, Lizzo, others. Just those are just the ones just right off the top of my head. But she's spilling the tea. And she also announced that she is pregnant with her fourth child from her boyfriend, Stephon Diggs.
Okay, because the way that they were trying to spread rumors about this woman being pregnant with that idiot.
Offset?
Yeah.
No.
Oh my god, they were trying so hard to, like, and things, she wasn't saying anything. So I was like, I'm gonna wait until she officially announces it and says exactly, what's going on. Cause y'all spreading lies on this woman. But okay, go ahead, Cardi.
Nah, she done with Offset. That dude was fucking bitches in her house in her bed.
Oh, I
Nah.
remember that. I remember that.
Yeah, listen to it. Like she comes with it. The whole album is
Okay, I gotta
listen.
listen. I gotta listen to Cardi B.
The whole album isn't necessarily about him, but when it gets to him, like, and it's like, "Okay,"
Like
but yeah.
she revealing stuff. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's a yeah. So, the WNBA playoffs are in full swing. Paige won Rookie of the Year, surprising to absolutely no one. Way to go, Paige.
And right now, that's my girl. We've talked about her like every show, I think, since we started.
We have.
I love me some Paige Beckers. Like, that's my girl right there.
I just hope she gets some help in Dallas. Like, I kinda hope that Angel gets traded or leaves and maybe goes to Dallas, because then.
I think they're gonna make her suffer after what they feel she said against them, or how she hurt their feelings when she spoke facts and spoke truth. It would be great for them to trade her, because could you just imagine that powerhouse of them two together? Because
And Enrique?
you know I don't I don't like that girl, the other one. Her and like she has Aaliyah Boston, right? And so I'm like, that alone. Now, granted, they do cater more to her plays than Aaliyah Boston is. Sometimes I feel that they forget how great Aaliyah Boston is as a player. But if they were to trade Angel Reese and Paige Beckers would be what Cece and Aaliyah Boston is supposed to be, on how they would play off of each other. I think that they would be phenomenal. And then what's the one you just said? Oh my God.
Enrique?
Enrique. They playing off each other, that would be a powerhouse. Like they would change the dynamic of the Dallas Wings if they were to get Angel Reese. Do I think that they would trade Angel Reese to the Dallas Wings? No. Because they wouldn't want that. Because I think while they understand and they acknowledge the fact on Angel Reese star power, they wouldn't want to facilitate the type of star power that I think would take over the conversation if you included Angel Reese with Paige Beckers. No, they wouldn't be talking about nothing else, except for the power of them two, together. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They're just gonna stay on their sucky teams.
And the playoffs are in full swing. The Aces, they survived, or as my girl Asia said, they weathered the storm. The storm took them to 3 games, and they won it on a last second shot by Jackie Young. So that was great. So they're going to play. Speaking of Aaliyah Boston, they're going to play the CC-less Fever. Hmm. And then the Liberty of the defending national champion, defending champions, they got knocked out by the Mercury.
No,
So it's going to be the Mercury and the Lynx playing.
Stewie.
Yeah, Stewie. And then the Chiefs are off to a 2-0 or an 0
Wait,
start.
sorry. Question:
Yes.
did the Valkyrie make it?
No, they
Okay,
lost to who did the Valkyrie lose to? The
because I
Lynx.
know they were doing pretty
They
good.
lost to the Lynx. The
To the
Valkyrie
Lynx.
lost to
Okay,
the Lynx. And
okay,
so,
gotcha.
but they for a first season team and their head coach, I want to say her name is Nisake. I can't pronounce it correctly, but she comes out of Becky Hammond's coaching role. She was Becky's assistant last year. Uh,
Gotta love Becky.
I love Becky too. And so the Valkyries coach was coach of the year.
Oh, okay.
So
Yo, she did her thing with that
she did
team.
those things, and she took Kate Martin from the from the
From
Aces.
the, Aces, yeah.
Took her with her to Golden State, and I love their colors. That purple and black is awesome.
Mhm.
But yeah, so this season was a great season, and it's not over yet, but I'm looking forward to the W continuing to grow, and I'm so glad it's
I
finally
can't wait for that Philadelphia team.
yeah, and the one now here's petty. Serena is co-owner of the team coming out of Toronto. Sit with that in a moment. Serena Williams is co-owner of the team coming out of Toronto. For those of you that know, just sit with that for a moment, okay? But yeah, I'm so happy that it's finally getting the run that it deserves, because for a long time it looked like that the W was going to go under. And so it's just becoming more and more popular. I'm happy to see the sellouts. I'm glad people are actually going to the games and realizing it's more than just one player, and those women ball out of control, and they
Mm.
deserve every bit of love that they get. Just stop throwing sex toys on the floor at games, but
I mean, they gotta inject themselves, and by they, I mean men. They have to inject themselves at some point, because they're not the center of attention when it comes to the WNBA. And I also think they're very jealous of the fact that those are women that can play basketball better than them.
Probably. I can't disagree with that. So, and that's really it. Just in surprising sports news from the NFL, the Chiefs are off to an 0-2 start. So I don't know if they would be able to. You're like, hey, I love that. My mom was like, "Are you still a Chiefs fan?" And I'm like, you know, just the MAGA tendencies over the years. You, like I said, it gets to a point sometimes where you try to separate some things, but you also can't separate. It gets harder to separate those things when you know.
I think for a long time because especially when you talk about football and basketball because it was dominated by us in the sport that the conservativeness of the owners did not trickle onto the court and onto the field. And I think in today's climate, that's what we see. And the more that I see that, like, I guess the less entertaining it becomes to watch the games, if that makes sense, just because because players who were conservative were never in the majority. And so they usually kind of kept it to themselves. And now they're coming out full force and talking about and showing themselves to be conservative and MAGA and all of that. And so it's just kind of changing the dynamic of it. So I'd like to see like how the change in that dynamic on who is put on the forefront when it comes to sports, who is interviewed, what they say when they're being interviewed, certain things that they never would have said in previous years that they now currently say on how that changes the viewership and how that changes the dynamics of the sports. You know, we kind of saw that with the WNBA where you got a lot of fans. Are all those fans the ones that you wanted um to claim as yours? And so, that's just something that I've noticed as an outsider because I don't really watch it. I follow it, but I don't necessarily watch the games, and so that's just something that I've noticed as I dip my foot in every once in a while, if that makes sense.
It does, and I think that, part of the reason why I despise Jerry Jones is because of his history, and I've always thought that he's had this patriarchal overview of his players, and, I don't mean like, oh, a father figure, you know what I mean when I say patriarchal.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
and I knowing that he was part of that group from the Little Rock Nine, he was actually one of the kids photographed out there yelling at him. It makes perfect sense. But he's always dealt with them like they were my boys. And you know what I mean when I say that. And I think the whole thing with Michael Parsons just kind of resurfaced that his whole attitude, like how dare he? He should take me at my word. Why would he ever want
Yeah, he should
have
take you
him
at your contract. That's what he should
yeah.
take you at.
Why would he ever want to have an agent in here? We did the deal, so why is he gonna go back behind my back and get his agent to come in here and talk? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, we can hammer out a deal, we can talk about it, but of course I'm gonna go get my lawyer to read the fine print to come in with, we can do the foundation, but the nuts and bolts, I want these people.
Mhm.
So just
I
his
wanna
whole
make sure this is legit.
yeah, his whole attitude about that was it just turned me off and went back into that. As far as the players, again, I don't so much mind your politics and your conservatism, so to speak, but again, what that means now, the comments that you say. And I get it, we're not all homogenous, but you play on a team with mostly black men. Most of these black men do not support MAGA and what it stands for. Some do, okay?
But
Um,
most of them don't.
most of them don't, and so for you to have these attitudes and for you to say that it's not personal, but it is, because we know at the heart of what MAGA is, and you can't tell me that you're MAGA, but you're not racist or you don't have some racist tendencies or beliefs. You can't tell me that you support Christian white nationalism and you're not misogynist or you don't have some misogynistic beliefs. Like I can appreciate Harrison Bucker for being honest about where he stands. The one thing I can say is he stood 10 toes down on what he said. And I
Mhm.
can appreciate that because I know who you are now that I'm dealing with you or what. I can
Yeah.
appreciate his honesty and him standing true to who he is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, no, no. I agree because once you show me who you are, like I appreciate the honesty. Like that's why I said, like, if you're a MAGA or you're a supporter of, this administration, let me know. Stand 10 toes down with it. Because then I know how to address you. I know how to interact with you. I know how to socialize with you or not socialize with you if I don't want to be in that space. And I think in a lot of ways, a lot of these people, because they're not in the majority, no matter what they say, they may be extremely loud, but they're not in the majority. So because of that, they secretly want you to socialize with them. They want you to be part of their friend group. And so they'll trick you into it. They'll lie to your face. Did I ever tell you the story of the woman who was talking about how she went on a date and she had multiple conversations with this dude? And so they met online. They had multiple conversations. She directly asked him who he voted for. She directly asked him, where he stood on like certain social issues and everything like that. Like she vetted him. And so they go on a date. They had been dating for a couple months, like maybe 3 months or so. And she said, like, they're on the phone and they're talking, planning out their next date, like where they're going to go. And he was like, I feel like I need to tell you something. And I'm scared of what your reaction is going to be. And she was just like, what are you talking about? Like, she was thinking it's like something real serious. And she was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, I just want to say, first of all, I'm so sorry. Like, I just really liked you. I think you're really great. And he revealed that he was he was a MAGA and he knew where she stood the whole time. And I feel like, and she said that because he didn't want that to define who he is, because that doesn't take away the type of human being that he is, because he's a good human being. And this is what he told her, he felt like he was a good human being. And then as soon as he tells her, who he voted for, that it was going to change her viewpoint of him. So he was trying to get her to fall in love with him first before he told her, so that she would be less likely to want to leave, to break up with him.
So you were gaslighting and lying to her the whole time.
Yes. And so
You're a good human being.
yeah, and so her immediate reaction, she said, he knew from the jump exactly where I stood. We've had multiple conversations. I've always been very vocal. I thought he was vocal on where he stood. And she said in that conversation, she was like, well, you know where I stand on all of this. And so I no longer want to talk to you. Like like, I don't want to be with you anymore. Like we're not together. I don't want to be in a relationship with you because you know where I stand when it comes to this. She was like, it's not a matter of politics. It's a matter of who you are as a person and what you support. And you support somebody who would be willing to take my rights away and think nothing of it. And you did that yourself when you voted in November. And she hangs up the phone and she was just like, she was heartbroken. And I feel like in a lot of ways, that's what we're experiencing in every like aspect of our lives.
But
And
here's
that
my
goes in sports as well. On they're revealing themselves and then people are like, well, I don't want to fuck with you no more. And then it's kind of like, well, I mean, like, why would you not want to? Like, that doesn't take away from who I am and how cool we've been. And you know who I am. You know me. No, I thought I did.
because I mean, how can you and it's like how can you consider yourself to be a good person and support that? Racism, misogyny,
They compartmentalize.
beating up on the downtrodden.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about rich people voting for Republicans because of taxes. If that's the whole reason, you're putting money above everything else. And the whole part of this experiment was a sense of community. Like, how much more can you have? You make $1 million a year, or you make $20 million a year. You paying 20% of that in taxes. If
It's
you
a
can't
drop in
the
the bucket.
you can't live off of the remaining $13 million a year, then you're living beyond your means already, you know? And so it's just like, I'm not asking for you to do that. 20% coming from me is more than it is coming from you. And so it's just like, so if that's what you're telling me is you're putting money over everything else, you're valuing your money above the greater good of the community and everyone else. So you can compartmentalize someone calling your best friend an N-word and wanting to put them back out in the fields because you're saving some money in taxes and that makes you a good person. Like, I can't compartmentalize.
Because we still cool. We still hang out. Like, we still talk. Like we just went to the movies yesterday. How does that change just because of who I tell you I voted for and what I support? Like that don't take away from the fact that we were laughing and ha ha hid, yesterday at the movies. Like we were enjoying ourselves.
But
Why
it
why
tells
would you
me because it tells me deep down how you really feel about me and the issues that affect me and people who look like me.
it tells me what you say about myself behind my back, and it tells me that when you're involved with people that speak ill of me,
You don't
you
stand up.
laugh and you don't say anything in defense. And that's what it's about. It's finding out that a lot of these people that you thought had your back do not. Because when they're faced with calling somebody out,
They don't.
they do not. They will back down every single time. And so that's for people who don't understand how people can walk away from family and just stop talking to their parents and stop talking to their family members and divorce their husbands, who can break up 20 and 30-year friendships, okay, that they've had for a very long time. You don't have anything that you stand for. You stand for nothing if you cannot understand having morals and having a line that should never be crossed, having boundaries. All right. Like, look, I have boundaries. When you cross that boundaries, I have to let you go. And like, cause I have a coworker, I told you, really cool. Okay. Use that N word casually in conversation. And while I talk to her on a colleague level, I can't build that dynamic and that bond because even if you say you're not like that, it was too casual. It's
Like
too casual.
it wasn't an accident.
Yeah, and so like where are our morals? Like I need more people. We gotta stand 10 toes down in like certain things. Like yeah, so yeah, fun times.
So I see you're not upset about the Chiefs starting 0-2, but yeah. So I think we can end this one on a good note. The emotional support alligator. Did you see it? Did you see the picture?
Did I looked? Oh my god! First of all, it was bigger than I thought it was gonna be. All right, that thing looks huge. Like when he's holding it up and like hugging it on his shoulder, like he's burping it like a baby. And then I saw all I saw the costumes. Oh my god! Oh my god! I saw the costumes, and I was just like, "Are you serious? Like you got the sweater, got the dress, the little witch hat."
Her name is Joneshi.
Yeah, it was so adorable. Now, I ain't going nowhere near it, but it was adorable. And to know that it was a staple within the community in that area and, another Karen, but,
Yeah, this man used to take his emotional support alligator. And when I read that, I'm like, you've got to be joking. But this thing, it looks, Joneshi is the name. She looks domesticated like all of the pictures. And she has costumes. And he
hmm
would put her in a cart in Walmart and people would just walk up and pet it. And this woman took a picture. She waited till all the people were gone and she made it seem like it was this big deal, like this alligator was just walking around snapping at people in Walmart and which is totally not the case. So the man was banned from bringing his emotional support alligator into Walmart, and he takes this thing with him everywhere to Denny's, and he's trained it, and it's just like a whole
Yeah.
thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but yeah. So
And somebody was like, you shouldn't own that. You should release it. What people don't understand is when you have animals like that and you have raised it from a baby or from a very, very young age, you can't put them in the wild because it mentions it in the article that you sent me that hunter instincts is gone. They never developed those instincts because that's not the environment that they grew up in. You can't just say because it's an alligator that it should be put back into the wild amongst other alligators on its own kind, its own species, because it doesn't work that way. It will be killed. Like, it will be attacked immediately. That's kind of like, when people have, when they take like they raise lions and they raise tigers and all of that. And people be like, no, you need to send them in the wild. And it takes them a very long time to get them back acclimated to hunting and everything like that. Like they have to train them back into how to have those hunter instincts that they should have. You can't just set them free because they'll be immediately killed because they're easy targets. Because they don't have those. So for anyone who was saying that, I was just like, no, I fully understand why he wouldn't release her amongst other alligators.
alligator,
Like
she be
it doesn't make any sense. Like, ultimately, if she grew bigger, he would have to ultimately, like, donate her to, like, a zoo or something like that, but, a space that can continue to take care of her because, you know, it may be a little difficult to train her the older she gets.
yeah. But I mean, so but she was
But it was cute.
Tho
So
those
adorable.
those things were cute.
Yeah.
I might put a link up so y'all can see this emotional support alligator. You saw my emotional support baby bear earlier, and so aw. But yeah, this episode, I think that does it for this episode. You got anything else
Yes.
before we go?
No, we good. We
We're
good.
good, we're good. And, I'm sorry y'all saw me break Tammy's heart live. I didn't mean to do that.
Why you bringing it up again?
I didn't mean to do that, but I will do better next time, and so until next
Just
time.
give me a heads up ahead of time.
And you know what? I just really thought you knew, but and again, it goes back to everything else that's got sucked up in the news. It's only
Mhm.
been about one thing. Like that's the only person that ever lived. But anyway, well, like I said, the rest of us, apparently 300 million plus of us died of drug overdoses last year. So it might be. But but
Hilarious.
anyway, and until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.